You are looking live at the JT and Looney year-end podcast for 2024. Hello, Tom.
Hi. Hello, friends.
Did I get that right? Is it 2024 or 2024?
People love to say 2024, but people in 1924, people didn't say 1924. They just said 1924. It's 2024. I thought once we got to 2020, people would get over that thing or the 2000 and thing, but they haven't yet.
You know what's great? When we were kids, and we'll leave our date of births out of this, 2025, it really felt like the Jetsons, right? Didn't it feel like the Jetsons? Like, really felt like the Jetsons were 2025, like something you couldn't fathom, right?
I remember as a 9-year-old going over to Teddy Sutton's house after school at St. Caspar's, and it was so much fun because you and I both have been in love with the telephone all of our lives, one of the many things we have in common. And his dad ran a State Farm insurance out of the basement, and they had 3 lines with buttons and hold. And we just had a ball playing with those phones, making prank phone calls. And we're out riding our bikes on Lincoln Street. And we stopped at a stop sign, and we said to each other, how old are we going to be when it turns 2000? And we were sitting there on the corner doing the math. It did seem like light years away.
Yeah, and this year went really fast as we look back. And we're going to have just a loose conversation here because we haven't been on a podcast together in a bit because we were both busy. And that's a good thing. And you remind me of that all the time. Today I interviewed the head coach of an NFL team. I did an hour live on the Raiders YouTube channel, which is a big platform. I did a 2-hour radio show. I'm going to a New Year's party tonight in Vegas. And I had time to podcast with you because I'm a soldier. I work and I work and I work. And I want to get to a point, Tom, in my life where I don't have to work. So when you come to me.
You right where you're Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I want to be the Kawhi Leonard of media. One thing I want to have in 2025, I'd love to have you, but I'd love to have 2 or 3 co-hosts and clappers who clap behind me and just say, yeah. And they just clap. And I work pretty smart. I work smart. I know I do because I got a couple of different platforms like you do, but someday I'll want to work less. And in 2025, that will not be the year because I'm very inspired. I'm excited to continue to work, and I love sports, and I love talking to my friends like you, so I'm happy going into the new year.
It really is. It's one of those things where when you can get this type of work, and you're lucky if you do, and there's a lot more fighter pilots than there are people who do what we do, although we like to give a salute to the fighter pilots. What they do is much harder to become one, and they do things that can be argued are far more important than talking about collective bargaining agreements on the radio. But it really is fun when you feel like you're getting away with something. I keep feeling like Mr. Spalding, the vice principal, who I got to know very well in Notre Dame High School, is going to catch me and tell me I got to go do a real job. And I've been getting away with this for a long time, flying by the seat of my pants and sleeping like a baby.
Is tonight a night as you overlook Hollywood? I forget because I know when the Dodgers win the World Series or the 4th of July, they have those famous drone videos where everyone at the same time is shooting off fireworks. Nowhere else in the world, from London to Tokyo to, the Cape of South Africa, has that. Is that going to happen tonight where the dogs are in fear, you look down from the hills, and it's just at one time at 11:58 through 12:11 a.m., it's just a massive scene. It looks like a major war scene below you.
It is interesting you say that because we unofficially have decided that Los Angeles is the firecracker and firework capital of the world. We should ditch firecracker. I don't know where people get these incredibly top grade fireworks, but people do. And we have a lot of different communities in Los Angeles who are really into fireworks. And it is unbelievable with the 4th of July, especially, and New Year's Eve, the number of fireworks that private people have that they shoot off. And it is quite incredible unless you're a get off my lawn guy. It is quite incredible.
Well, I find it amazing because I live in Vegas. And here's what's interesting about Las Vegas, the sports and entertainment capital of the world. We have such an aggressive calendar the whole year. The calendar is so freaking amazing. So rodeo, F1, the Super Bowl. We just had the Super Bowl. You got all these great things, and then New Year's comes around, and everyone's like either one of two people, and I'm not the other. The one is, oh, it's amateur night. Oh my God, I'm staying in. It's amateur night. I go, you got one life. You got one life, and maybe you have 75 New Year's Eves or 88. So don't act like New Year's Eve isn't a big freaking deal, and you should take that night off, or you can stay away from the Strip. And tonight, I'm not nervous or apprehensive. I'm not going to the Strip. I'll be pretty close to the Strip. But reportedly, tonight's the first time in Vegas history that they're going to have these low-flying helicopters that can sense out heat. Remember the drone story back in Jersey? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Why are all the drones up there? Well, they're kind of sensing. They want to try out new technology where they can find some type of heat-seeking blank or something. Well, tonight, all over the news, we have like every cop in the world on the Strip. We got everybody on top of these casinos looking down. We got helicopters rolling. We got National Guard going. And that's just Vegas. And you could say that in New York. Well, look, man, it's 2024 going into 2025. There's a lot going on in the world. I mean, check out the New York subways as of late. Have you been down to the New York subways in the last 6 or 8 weeks? So everybody needs to be cautious as they're having fun. If you see something, say something, but always go have a good time and stay alert.
Well, that's always been, I know you're a low-calorie Republican. You're very liberal when it comes to partying. And so leave it to you to say, go out on New Year's Eve. And I love it because your philosophy is great. Go to the memories. Don't wait for memories to come to you. And you're right. I'm surprised that a lot of party people actually say it's amateur night. Like like you get some kind of award for being a professional partier. It is a wonderful night where people, it's one of those nights where we don't have a label. And we love labels in America, and blue and red and liberal and conservative. Are you a MAGA? Are you a woker? That doesn't matter. Everyone has the same calendar. It's the same calendar. And thank you, by the way, shout out to Pope Gregory. Otherwise, we'd be doing this in April, April 1st. And then one day, Pope Gregory said, anybody who celebrates this on April 1st is a fool. And he moved it to January 1st. So the great Pope Gregory gave us this wonderful party.
When I was 16 years old, and I should be telling you too much, but I don't care. When I was 16 years old, I went to a party at my buddy's house with all my buddies. And it was a big, we're 16 years old. And back then, you could do whatever you want under supervision of parents. And that was the one night where our parents had plans. So my parents went to a local party in the neighborhood down the block. And I went out and, I think I had a curfew till little after midnight. I didn't make it till 9 o'clock. My friends had to move the clocks ahead to like 11:45 to get me to leave because It was the first and only night of my life that I ever drank champagne. And I drank way too much of it. As when you're 16 years old and you're in a cowboy hat and jeans and a jean jacket with fur on it with a concert album on the back. And I started chugging champagne. And the next thing you know, I don't remember anything that happened. And my friends dropped me off. A good friend would have just left me in the backyard to sleep it off. But they said, we got to get him out of here. I can imagine what I was like. They dropped me off at the front of my house where my grandmother was watching my two younger sisters. Dropped me in my bedroom, and the rest is history. Mom and Dad came home early. There were a lot of decorations that ended up showing up in the bedroom, unfortunately. And the hook to this story is, I swear on my kids, from the age of 16 on New Year's Eve, I have never had a sip of champagne. My entire life, including my wedding, where we did the wedding toast. And I put the champagne to my lips, but did not consume it. And then when everybody looked away and they stopped taking pictures, my wife was able to have that glass.
Post-traumatic champagne syndrome.
Yes.
That's what you got. Wow. That happens a lot of people with food or with, I've never had a hot dog, which probably doesn't surprise anybody who knows me now because I'm such a lunatic when it comes to diet and exercise, etc. But in America, how does somebody go up and not eat a hot dog? And I got my way. I didn't like them. I'm at my grandparents' house, and they really pushed me to try a hot dog. And I took a bite of the hot dog, and I barfed right on their dining room table. And they never made me try anything ever again. For the rest of my life, there was always a joke. Tommy, do you want to try this? Oh, no, wait, that's okay. and so I guess I've also had post-traumatic hot dog syndrome since then as well.
Let's get New Year's resolutions out of the way because this year, I say this every year, it's an important birth date for me coming up. I want to get healthier every year. Numbers are good. All the doctors, blessing, everything's good, but I want to eat better. I want to just have a better lifestyle. Important year coming up here. And, you know how to go clean. And everybody wants to go clean on January 1st, including myself, where I'm saying, well, we'll get rid of sugar. I'm not going to, take maybe a month off from the cervezas. Well, my calendar's too busy to take the month off from my Tito's and my cervezas, so that won't happen. But I consciously really want to try. So the two things I want to run by is the intermediate fasting can work well at times because when I go to bed and I wake up, if you say you can't eat for the first 4 hours when I wake up, I can deal with that. But the problem is for all of us watching and listening, people want to eat late into the night. Oh, I'm going to stop at 7 o'clock at night. Well, not in Vegas if you're at dinner and your dinner reservation's at 8 at night. So what do you recommend for everybody who wants to eat cleaner and they're not a bodybuilder like you? They want to start and you want to give them some inspiration into 2025.
Stop eating anything with ingredients. And that's actually not that hard. You have chicken and then have for your carb, have a fruit or vegetable. Those things don't have ingredients, and that'll help you bring weight down. As far as intermittent fasting, I don't usually eat after 10 or 11, and that gives me till 2 in the afternoon the next day, and I don't have to wake up early like a lot of people do. I've never really done a 9 to 5. That was one of my goals after I got out of high school. Doing pretty good so far. And so if I don't wake up till 9, I just can't eat for 5 hours. That's a lot tougher for people who maybe wake up at 6 or 7, got to go to work, got to wait till noon or 1. So, but do that depending on your age. But I do a 16-8. That's 16 hours where I don't eat, and you get used to it. The results you'll enjoy, and you go clear. You think much clearer. And one more thing too that I think you do that helps your longevity. I follow Dr. Atiya on YouTube. I gotta send you the link. He's terrific. A doctor who's really picky with research. You can't bullshit him with research. He's very good. And one of the things that you do, there's a throwout statistic. A lot of people in Europe do eat bread and do have champagne and you socialize a lot. You drink more than would be recommended. You've got longevity on your side in terms of your genes. Your dad got new golf clubs at what age?
My dad got new golf clubs at 83. 84. My son just helped him get it, and my dad exercises and eats well, and my mom, who could be watching now, they really take their health very seriously.
And last time, I didn't know your dad got new golf clubs at 83. Last time he was about 78, and I said, well, he's not planning on going anywhere. And any in their 70s or 80s who gets a puppy or golf clubs, okay, the mindset's really important. So that's great for you, and it's great for you because of the socializing. You got people staying over your house constantly because you live in Vegas. All the socializing you do and some of the extra drinking you do, I don't think is bad for you because all that other stuff is helping you live longer.
Well, wait a second. You glossed over something that I'm going to call you out on.
Okay.
This you wake up in the morning and don't eat for 5 hours. Yeah. 90% or 98% of Americans have something called breakfast. They have coffee and they have eggs and Jimmy Dean's sausage. And out here we have something magical out west. We have breakfast tacos. We have breakfast burritos. So you got to be pretty disciplined not to eat until 2 o'clock. And I've known you a long time. If you're going to bed at 10 or 11, or you stop eating at night and then you go to bed and you wake up in the morning, it is not easy to say, I'm going to get through breakfast, through noon, and not start eating until 2 o'clock. Explain that again.
First of all, ever since puberty, I've had a hard time going to bed before 1 or 2 in the morning.
Same here.
And I still don't go to bed till that late. And so still, it's 7 hours of sleep normally. I get 6 or 7, and then you're right. A lot of people would have time with that because it's of the habit. But we eat too much. It's called breakfast for a reason. It breaks a fast. It doesn't come with a time. It's the time that you break your fast, the break fast. And now we now call breakfast. And if you break your fast 5 hours after you wake up, like me, it's still breakfast. And you can eat eggs and sausage. By the way, no potatoes or toast, of course. Get rid of that white food. Potatoes, toast, bread, any refined sugars, and stuff with ingredients. Which I would say don't eat the sausage, but it's better for you than other things. We didn't used to think that. But maybe I did gloss over it, but one of the things you've always known about me is when it comes to that part of my life, I'm really disciplined. And then that should be one of the things on one's list for New Year's resolution, be disciplined. When you walk into a grocery store, you take care of yourself, you're physically fit, and you follow what you eat. You walk into they don't see if you got out of a Maserati or a Toyota. They don't know how rich you are or how poor you are. They know if you have discipline by what you look like.
Yeah, I think the other big thing is keeping your body moving. I got the Peloton in the house. I like to walk in the morning. Working out as a kid and an athlete, a swimmer, if you're doing weights or not. This is for everybody out there with New Year's resolutions. Every day that you don't work out, you have to go back. You have to go work out 2 more days. What I mean by that, if you miss a day and you miss another day and you miss 6 days in a row, you feel like you got to just start over and go back and catch those 6 days. I think it's really important, and I want to do it more this year, is making sure every day, 30, 31 days a month, that I'm moving my body a little bit harder than I did the year before. Now, some days...
Walk that dog longer.
Yeah, but I'm talking about real working out. If you get a chance to get on a Peloton or swim or lift weights,
right.
Instead of lifting weights for 30 minutes, move it to 40. Instead of walking for an hour, move it to an hour 15. I think if everybody does that coming up in the new year and get that resolution going, that could really be beneficial to a lot of people who need the push. And you're really good at that. You're good at motivating people to get their bodies moving and make sure they're disciplined enough to not leave a day off. Because once you take 1 day off, it's 2 days off, it's 4 out of 6 days, and then your resolutions go to shit, and then you stop doing it, and then you forget about it, right?
Well, hopefully this helps, because you said something that was a misnomer, that you're talking about regular work. Walking is working out. Walking is the safest workout we do. It's low impact on your body. Some, even personal trainers who are charging $100 an hour will tell you, despite it doesn't help their wallet, walking is the best exercise there is. Nobody gets hurt from walking. And the things that really help us, but you did mention running, Peloton, VO2 max, your ability to do some decent cardio, and your strength, weight training, and your grip strength are a big, there's a big connection between that and longevity. One more thing. Your VO2 max and your oxygen, your cardio, and your strength, working out for you, good physical fitness is better for you than the things that are bad for us. The things that get us are bad for us. Like, in other words, cancer, it's usually cancer, diabetes, etc. Those things that tend to get us aren't as bad for us as exercise and weights and cardio are good for us. I know it sounds a little strange, but doctors will back that up, because also you get one of those things, your chances of doing well with any type of medicine or therapy are exponential if you're already in good shape.
All right, there are a lot of big stories in 2024. We're not going to cover it all. We're going to just talk about a few of them and try to keep this thing moving here. The biggest story, and there's wars going on, which are more important, and famine and big earthquakes and all that, and that's very important to hear. But we want to, kind of focusing in on a couple of bigger topics here that we can
May I
go
add
ahead.
one thing there about that? One good news. Here's good news. There have never been, there's a great book out there called Factfulness. There's never been less war than there is on this day.
All right, so the big story,
At
yeah,
time on the
right. The big story of the year was the election. My side won, your side lost. I thought both candidates were extremely flawed. Okay, I've been voting my whole adult life. I didn't want to vote for either one of them. I was on the right side. Other people were on the wrong side. Two extremely flawed candidates in a very bizarre election. Donald Trump won going away. He knocked down the blue wall, was able to win. He hasn't been inaugurated yet. People were losing their minds all year heading into the election. People really didn't have an idea. People were guessing a lot. Even Nate Silver, all news outlets were guessing a lot. One side won, the other side lost. I thought it was pretty chaotic. It got dark at times. It was really intense. But now everybody's getting ready for inauguration coming up here in 20 plus days. How do you think the country's going to handle this going forward? Because there are a lot of people super happy that they won and a lot of people pissed off that they lost.
Well, here's another thing. A couple of things. First of all, we always have this ability to react however we choose to react. If you don't get your way and there's something that happens that's not within your control, one thing you do have control over is how much time you want to obsess on it and your emotional reaction to it. You have control over that. And we know what we've been through. It'll be 4 years of chaos. We had it before. It was 4 years of chaos. We know what we're getting. Before, when we went into it before, I think on the liberal side, there was overreactions in a lot of ways, and there won't be as much of that this time because we know what we're getting. We know exactly what we're getting. And, for people who are in a panic, it's just 4 years. And the country will run, this country can run itself. We've had President Biden, no matter what his mental condition, we've had presidents that are much worse, including Woodrow Wilson, and his wife ran the country for a few years because this country can pretty much run on itself. Our economy is the envy of the world, even right now. The envy of the world, the strongest economy of the world. Look at all the incredible indicators indicate that we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And guess what? You'll be fine. Not you, but you, the viewer, you, the listener, if you choose to be. Because does the president have that much of an effect on your life other than emotionally because he was your particular Valentine or he wasn't?
Yeah, I think the other big story to come out of the election was the way legacy media took a hit. No debate. The ratings show that. Cable news had spikes here and there, but one of the platforms we're both on, X and Elon Musk, like him or not. I've always been a fan of Eli. I own the stock. I love the ingenuity of the rockets going up. I love the Teslas. I love all that, but I believe he took a big risk in backing Trump to try to win, and he guessed right, and he got it right, and he believed in it all, and he got a lot of information out there, along with Joe Rogan and the podcast, and both candidates were trying to figure out who to talk to who can take me longer than 3 minutes on ABC World News Tonight or PBS or Lester Holt with commercial block here, commercial block there. They wanted to race to social media on TikTok, Instagram, X, and get it out there. I think it had a tremendous impact on the election to the point where a lot of young people, mostly younger demographics in a lot of regions in the country that turned down legacy media and weren't watching, that Elon opened up a door to get a lot of information out there. Was it heavy lean to Elon's liking? Of course it was. But did he accomplish something that was big and bold? Absolutely. And people are looking for news now, Tom. Different. You're in the news business. You're on a big radio station in LA, one of the biggest. People get their news updates from you. But now people are getting their news a different way. And it's only going to be going more towards streaming and people getting their news quicker and finding it from the people they want to get it from.
Well, lots to unwrap there. One of the things you said that I don't know if I agree with. Well, here's it. With Elon Musk, I don't say I won't agree with him, but Elon Musk is a businessman. how do I sell more of these widgets? The way Mitt Romney thought. Remember, our entire healthcare system is based on Mitt Romney's model in Massachusetts. But then, because Obama adopted it, he had to be against it, even though he wasn't. Because how do I sell these widgets? In his case, he went into politics. How do I elect it? With Elon, the Tesla is thought of as a liberal car. Electric cars are liberals. Liberals are against the gas combustion engine. And so, how does he sell more of these widgets? How does he sell more of these Teslas? If Republicans, they don't seem to think electric razors are liberal or electric light bulbs, but somehow electric cars became liberal. And Elon said, if I get into bed with Trump and he wins, people will be happy with me and maybe they'll buy my car.
Well, there's your cat. Your cat in front of the screen. I love that. Hey, I'll tell you this. I got a couple of gas guzzlers. I have a couple of, there you go. Hello, cat. I have a couple of gas guzzlers and I have a couple of electric vehicles in my house. I haven't been to a gas station in over a year. I don't go to grocery stores ever. And I don't go to the gas station anymore unless I want to do a favor for my beautiful wife and fill up her tank if she's going somewhere. And I'm telling you, once you stop going to a gas station, and I've been watching Landman with Billy Bob Thornton, and we got to keep the oil industry alive, and there are guys, there's pump jacks, and there's rigs out on the ocean. I want the economy to flourish. I'm a drill guy. I am a drill guy. I'm into that in America. But I'm telling you, once you get used to plugging in your car and not going to the gas station and driving a car like it's a golf cart with an iPad, I'm telling you, dude, once you do that for 6 months to a year, you do not want to go back. And I've had a Porsche at 21. I've had Mercedes and Beamers and Chevys, and sons have had pickup trucks. So I'm not here to tell the world to go get an electric vehicle. But if you got 3 or 4 cars like I do in my household with my 2 sons and my wife, mark my words, you want an electric vehicle to take the edge off. And you live in California where it's insanity. The state taxes, the gas taxes, the real estate taxes, the federal taxes. Every time I go out west, no wonder I see so many Teslas and electric vehicles. It makes a lot of sense to people who don't want to pay that money anymore.
Well, it's an amazing gadget. I'm a gadget nut. And for me, it has nothing to do with liberal, conservative, or saving the planet, although I'm a big fan of that. I think aren't we all? I love the Teslas, love the electric cars, and you're right, it is a whole different experience. I don't have one. The guy that takes me to the airport has a really cool Tesla with the gull wing doors. And it is the coolest thing. And there are a lot available. They're more affordable now because Hertz is selling 30,000 of them because it's a little bit tough to get them fixed. And, people who are renting the cars sometimes mess them up. And so Hertz, it's not worth it for Hertz. So right now is actually a good time to buy one.
A couple of people passed away in 2024, and this is a rabbit hole. Everybody who passes away could be a member of your family, right? An immediate member of your family. They all matter the same. A lost life is a lost life. But for podcast purposes, I lost Pete Rose, who was a great friend. Not a good friend, a great friend. Had a good relationship with the all-time hit king. I'm going to miss him. I got to know Bill Walton reasonably well, more than an acquaintance. I'm going to miss him. The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays, passed away. And Jerry West, who was a frequent topic from you on our radio shows and podcasts over the years. And we just lost Jimmy Carter. And we were talking politics. Let me tell you something about Jimmy Carter, who just passed away 2 days ago. As he goes to the pearly gates, he's going to go walk right through it.
Right.
He's going to have a chauffeur picking him up.
He's got the pre-check.
He might be the kindest human being. I want to talk about his presidency. What he did for Habitat for Humanity, what he did for the human race. I mean, what a legendary American, from his service to this country to the fact that he lived to 100 years old. And, oh my God, the last 30 years from 70 to 100, this guy was banging nails, building houses, feeding people, or trying to eradicate disease all around the world. What a beautiful human being Jimmy Carter was. May he rest in peace.
He built the cross in the church. He was a Renaissance man. He was not only doing those things you mentioned, but he was a poet. He was an author, 35 books. He was an incredible fly fisherman. He was a really autodidactic man. He was a nuclear engineer. That's the icon of that. Is a smart guy, nuclear engineer. Maybe the highest IQ, supposedly, of any president we had. He was incredible at, he was curious. Oh, he loved music. He would sit down with Bob Dylan or the Allman Brothers, and he loved classical music. Mm-hmm. Supposedly knew more about classical music than any person alive. So he was a complete Renaissance man. He dove into life. He didn't wait for memories to come to him. He went to the memories, because I know that's the way you live life. And you're right. If there was something broken in his house, even though they made a lot of money from books and everything else over the years and speaking tours, he'd fix it himself. Something you or I can't do.
Yeah, nor do I want to try. No, Jimmy Carter wouldn't have picked me to go work around the weekend to volunteer. I volunteer a lot, and as you always rib me, I remind everybody when I do charity work. I do remind everybody, hey, look at me, I'm doing charity work because I want to get other people involved. Jimmy Carter did not do that. I know you wanted to mention Greg Gumbel, who just passed away, the iconic broadcaster from CBS, ESPN, and all the great work. The first African-American broadcaster, play-by-play the Super Bowl. How about that? A Super Bowl that I was at. And what a run he had. His brother, Brian Gumbel, famous too. But Greg Gumbel's been on our TV as sports guys our entire lives.
Yeah, and I think his brother gave him his first break, his younger brother. Bryant gave him his first break in Chicago, called him up and said, take that job. And what's interesting is in the early clunky days of ESPN, he was one of the ESPN anchors, and he wasn't that great. It's all about repetition. The more you do it, the more he became comfortable, and the more he became Greg. And apparently Greg was likable because we got to know exactly, the more you do broadcasting, the more, as Larry King advised me as a kid calling his show, let your act be yourself and yourself be your act. And that's what eventually happened with Greg Gumbel. And he was an incredible, low ego, nice person. And eventually all that enthusiasm for what he did, all those reps as a broadcaster got better and better and better until he was one of the faces of CBS Sports.
Yeah, and then all the musical artists that passed away, and the list goes on, and the humanitarians. But I'll move on to another topic, our athlete of the year for 2024. I'll give you a second because I see your eyes kind of like wandering there in the Looney Mansion. I'll go first. And, the year's over. LeBron turned 40. Freddie Freeman hit a home run in front of us. We'll get to that. Then you look at the history of all other sports. Danny Hurley and UConn going back-to-back, which is tremendous. You think of global soccer, the biggest sport in the world. And without a doubt to me, this year was Caitlin Clark. She's my athlete of the year, and here's why. I consume sports, and I talk about sports for a living. And what I try to do, which I think I hopefully do it better than most, is when I see a topic, I just don't become Captain Obvious. I like to take the topic, as Andrew Ashwood taught me, and move the topic forward. So when I started to sit on the radio at night in 2024 when she was playing for Iowa, and she had ratings that were bigger than the NBA, and I was like, holy shit, no, these are real ratings of hers in the Final Four that are surpassing professional men's basketball, not the NBA. Everybody was talking about it. I could have done 3-hour radio shows on that, and I couldn't buy a phone call talking NBA. I could give you the 800 number, NBA this, calling on Luka, Lakers, nada. Caitlin Clark, everybody lined up and wanted to be part of this phenomenon. Like Mark the Bird Fidrich when he took over baseball as a Comet and a Rocket. So what Caitlin Clark was able to do and drive eyeballs to women's basketball. People have been following women's basketball. Gino Auriemma, UConn, dynasties of Pat Summitt, great WNBA players like Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops. None of them compare to what Caitlin Clark did this year. Female, no. Male athlete, no. Overall, JT the Brick, athlete of the year. Caitlin Clark, she was tremendous. She's a warrior. She's tough. She's entertaining. She was great for the brand of basketball, and I'll remember the year that she had in 2024. She moved the needle the most for me.
The best basketball player I knew personally growing up was the girl next door who went on to coach at Oklahoma and several other major Division I college basketball schools. And I've always had a place in my heart for her. We'd go watch her college basketball games. She played at Cortland State. And so I've always had a place in my heart for it, and I love your choice for that reason. And it was a transformational time for the WNBA. She is kind of like the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson of the WNBA. People go into games, not just the same handful of people going to arenas. When she's there, they pack them. Same thing with LeBron James at 39 and now 40, doing something that no athlete is almost no athlete has ever done at the age he's doing, which is why it's easy to say, make an argument that he's the athlete of the year, because the same thing happened. I know he was a little political for a while, but half the country doesn't know politics. They just want to be entertained. The numbers don't lie. Number one selling jersey. When the Lakers go on the road, it's the number one team people want to go see or cheer against. And look at how much, he's twice the age of everyone else in the NBA, and he's the number one selling jersey. And so when he's involved, the ratings are huge. When he's not, they're not. Not like with the wink and the nods of the Golden State Warriors, who get great ratings and when they're in town, people go to see their games. But it really could be an argument. I saw him score 39 points the other night at 39 years old, and Michael Jordan couldn't do that at that age. One other person I can think of could do it at that age. It was George Foreman. Could perform even better than he did when he was younger, into his 40s. But the way he's taken care of his body, the way he's stayed out of trouble over the years, because when someone's famous when they're in high school and they go on, they get given all that money, no matter what background they come from, kids screw up between 15 and 25. They just do. Our prisons are full of boys who screwed up between 15 and 25. Not LeBron has really carried himself in an incredible way, and even through this year too, could be called the athlete of the year, I think. Wow.
Okay. That's great. I'm going to go on to our next year in review on the JT and Looney podcast, year in review. I watch a lot of movies. I can consume a lot of Netflix streaming and all that. The show of the year for me as it came to an end was Yellowstone. It transformed me back to Montana, and I've never been to Montana. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Montana because of Yellowstone. I watched the entire series. It got hard to watch. It started streaming. They gave it to you once a week. It's a great show to stream all at once. Remember, if you were watching The Sopranos in real time, you had to wait every Sunday to watch The Sopranos. That sucked. I mean, there's a lot of time in between Sunday to Saturday, and then you get around to Sunday. So finally, Kevin Costner bailed because he had other things to do. And what a dick move. I know there's a lot of politics behind the last year of a show. Alan Alda didn't walk away from MASH in the last year. Carol Burnett didn't walk away from the Carol Burnett show the last year. Johnny Carson finished off his run on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show, but Kevin Costner could not, because him and Taylor Sheridan couldn't come to a kind of business agreement. Costner wanted to do some movies. It just wrapped up. It was a beautiful show, super violent at times, but the landscape of Montana transfixed me every night into that show. And then they had 1923. They had spinoffs of it. I finished it all in 2024. Bravo to Taylor Sheridan, who has Landman now, and he's got an empire of shows he's coming out with. But Tom, I really love Yellowstone. I wish Costner, I won't give you spoiler alerts, I wish he would have been involved in the last season. But with Cole Hauser and all the characters are there, it drew me in, and I really enjoyed the show.
Did it draw you in for the same reason that women watch General Hospital? Because you get to know every character, and it really just becomes a soap opera more than... And would you remember episode 8 of season 2 2 years from now?
No, but I was the first man ever on planet Earth to watch The View. I watched the first episode of The View, and I can't tell you specific episodes of The View, but I just think you would like the show.
By the way, I know Yellowstone's great. I do think that's one of the shortcomings of some of these series is that they don't end because they have a hit series, so they keep going, which is fun. Even Your Honor, which I loved.
Yeah, I loved it too.
But it's as you sometimes with these, you see the first season, then you go on the second season, you get midway through the second season, and you're fatigued. And so with a lot of television now, and when you get involved in the soap opera, and after a while, you can't even remember an episode. I know that happens to me with Below Deck Mediterranean. I'll see the reruns later and think I don't even remember why I saw it or not. It was just candy at the moment, and then it's gone. So I think that is one of the downsides of taking these great shows and these great series and doing them 2 or 3 seasons too many. But it's great for the actors. As many seasons as you want. Maybe I'll be on one of those episodes.
Yeah, because you're a working actor, not an actor. You're a working actor. Is there a show that you'd like to put on the list as we're prepping for the podcast? I've given you my Athlete of the Year, Caitlin Clark, Yellowstone, my show. Would you like to participate? Do you have a show of the year or a movie of the year?
I don't know if I have a show or year or the movie of the year off the top of my head at the moment, but I did tell you because I have recency bias in the documentary about Hope Solo. And for anybody, especially soccer fans who haven't seen it, it's an incredible story about, she was an outsider. She was the black sheep and the best player in women's American soccer representing our country. Wasn't treated very well, but, it was kind of a country club atmosphere, a lot of rich people's kids for some reason, like suburban people's kids. And then she was she was the daughter of a homeless guy. And so, she came from a different stock, rough, but that's what made her great. And I don't want to give away too much of it if people don't know. I didn't know much about the story of Hope Solo until I saw the documentary, and it was terrific.
And before we get to the NFL, quickly, we'll wrap it up with the NFL. Netflix on Christmas aired 2 NFL games that got enormous ratings. And the day games got enormous ratings because LeBron and Steph went on at night, and the NBA got a big rating. I love when the NBA says ratings were up from 5 years ago. Well, 5 years ago, you didn't tell us the ratings were shit. You didn't put out a press release saying our ratings suck. Come back next year. But Beyonce performed at halftime in Houston, in the Houston game against Baltimore, and the Ravens destroyed Houston. Beyonce put on one of the biggest concerts at a sporting event of all time. If it was a Super Bowl, it would have been in the top 3, not the top 5. Now, remember, at the Super Bowl, they don't pay the artist. They tell the artist, you're not getting paid, but you're going to get exposure. They gave Queen Bee $20 million, and she delivered an audience, and she didn't even sing her songs. She sang country. She sang country, which is unique to do because she sang her songs at the Super Bowl, and it was widely entertaining. So that show and what Netflix did is really going to change the landscape of sports broadcasting going forward. We're going to be watching more and more streaming shows. We're getting to a pay-per-view model for everybody. If you don't have Peacock, Amazon. I always say I have Amazon because my wife has 10 packages a day with my sons delivered here. I better get Amazon Prime. I better get Thursday Night Football. But they want me to buy everything. Even my beloved Yankees on opening day are going to be on ESPN Plus. Not the Yankee channel. Everybody's trying to get in on this money scam. So, Tom, your opinion on the world of streaming that we're entering when it comes to sports, because if you don't have a smart TV and you don't know how to download these apps, you're going to miss a lot of play-by-play.
Yeah, and I do worry about it a little bit just because I'm worried about cable getting out of sports and cable networks like NBC Sports Network, where I have a television show, Penny versus the Penny. I'm worried about so I'm selfishly worried about it in that way. But I don't always worry about what I cannot control and we cannot control, and I won't bitch about the future and things evolving. Things evolve, things change, and we'll end up seeing those games because we're addicted to the unscripted drama. And as far as country music goes, and I think you and I both agree, the only 2 things in life that make it worth living Our guitars tuned, good and firm, feeling women. Now, I don't see my name in the marquee lights, but I got my guitar and I got my baby tonight. And maybe it's time we go back to the basics of love. And where are we going? We're going to Lukenbach, Texas, with Willie and Waylon and the boys.
Oh, my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I'm going to Lukenbach, Texas.
Willie and Waylon and the boys.
Love it.
Life we're living got us feuding like the Hatfields and McCoys. One of the great songs ever. Waylon Jennings with a guest spot from Willie Nelson.
Last topic of 2024, and it pained me. It bothered me. I didn't handle it well on social media. Fans didn't treat me kindly for it. And it's something I never, ever want to do again. Ever want to do this again. And the next time I might bail on it. I'm done with the word tanking. I hate it. It brought me down to a level of the gutter and the sewer with some ignorant fans and fans who couldn't come to grips that grown men who play football never want to lose. They want to win every game, even when they're not playing well, even when they lost 8 in a row or 9 in a row and 10 in a row. And fans wanted them to continue to lose. And this isn't a Raiders topic. It's the New York Giants. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Patriots right now have the number 1 overall pick, and they just had the 3rd with Drake May. But what I noticed is I'm so firm on the topic. I'm just trying to tell people Captain Obvious shit here, that players play, coaches coach. Coaches on bad teams and players on bad teams are going to be fired or traded and not be on the team again. So they don't want to lose. They want to play great and put it on tape and have the euphoria of going into the locker room after losing 4 in a row and winning so they can go back home to their wives and kids and their girlfriends and say, hey, man, we won. Let's go out to dinner. Hey, we won. I'm not a loser. Hey, I worked out all week. I lifted weights. I went to team meetings for 12 hours a day, and I was rewarded with a win. Well, that wasn't handled well here in Las Vegas, and I apologize to the people for my gruffness, and I can't take it anymore, man. I'm tapping out because I cannot handle fans who can't see the obvious. We're going to agree to disagree on a lot of topics. We're not going to agree on the final score of the game. We're not going to agree with the coach's decision to go for it on 4th down or kick a field goal. But when grown-ass men on social media are yelling at the coach, not to his face in person, where they could at a restaurant or an airport, when they're yelling on Twitter and Facebook and cursing at the coach for winning games instead of losing, it's something I never want to experience again. It's bothersome. A draft pick don't mean shit if you don't know who that player is and how good he's going to be. So I'm done. I'm done talking about tanking. I'm not engaging fans anymore who want to talk about tanking. And if you don't want to win all the time and you want to bring in the cancer of losing and want to lose on purpose, I'm not your guy.
You know people, and the show would have been better ending there, but I still want to stick up for you, and I want to talk about this as well. Because it was a great exclamation point and a great monologue. You know these people, a lot of them personally. They were all state champions. They won every game in Pop Warner because they were on the team, and every game in high school because they were on the team, and usually a state champion because they were on the team and were on a great college football team. It was usually great because they were on the team. They got drafted in the NFL like very few people do. They're used to winning. And so this this whole fantasy, because we love conspiracies, maybe ever since JFK, maybe went on before that, in this country where teams are tanking, but you're not going to get players or coaches to do it. They want to have a job. They've already had to move 16. Those coaches have already had to move 16 times, and they have a wife and kids. Kids don't like to move and change schools after making friends. They don't have to do it again. And sometimes they get left behind because the wife doesn't want to move again. So Tony goes to Indianapolis, and the family stays in Tampa Bay. And he's not the only one.
Oh, I got that one. Hold on. I got that inside joke. That's very good by you. Very good.
But it happens. And so it's I don't blame you at all. And you have to take a lot of vitriol for that. And as you know, the draft, they never rerun those draft shows to show how wrong everyone was about how much wiggle number one has. The number one pick when it ends up being no good. So you can get the fourth pick or the sixth pick or the seventh pick in the draft with the Raiders and end up with the best player in the NFL. Well, not all, we're not all the amazing Prescott. We don't have him anymore. Another person who died in 2024. And so now that he's not around to help the Raiders with their draft picks, maybe you'll have to find a new psychic.
I just can't get your inside joke out of my head because you're so good at that. It's almost like a member of the media not seeing their wife during the holiday because they're going to have a 4-day weekend with her next week. I mean, that's just such a good inside joke. And, you normally in media, you don't want to end with inside jokes. So I do this every year. I did it on radio today. I'll do it again. I'll give you a moment or two to gather your notes in your head so you can wrap it up. I do my State of the Union at the end of the year. And I have a planner in front of me, and I close the planner, and I put it in a drawer, and I have a stack of 30 years of planners. And then I open up a new one, and I write the balances of my checkbook and my 401k and my portfolio, and I write a nice paragraph about my kids and my health and wishing people well, and then I just go back to the grind and try to do it again. So the State of the Union for the podcast, the shows, and all things media.
You're going to read the balances?
No, I'm not going to do that there. But if you go into my drawer in the upper left hand on the nightstand, you'll see it all. This was the year I engaged on YouTube and social media. With you, we do the podcast. Seems like this is the way of the future. You got to have some type of streaming platform. We're trying to figure it out. Putting this shit up is hard. I mean, getting the Wi-Fi right, getting the cameras right, the microphones right, it isn't easy, but I embarked on it with the help of my son, my oldest son, so I really appreciate that. Working at SiriusXM, working for the Raiders, working my local show out here in Vegas at Lotus. I'm just very blessed that I have a couple of platforms that people can find me on. But the most important thing in my life is my family and my friends, in that order, because most of my friends are family, and my family means everything to me. So I want everything to be great. I want to continue to work. I want to have something to work for every day, feel passionate about sports in my life. But more importantly, I want you all out there listening and viewing to have all your dreams come true in 2025. Shoot for a bigger goal. Take an extra week off and go on an extra vacation if you can. Try to help people more locally in your community. But make 2025 the best year of your life. Tom?
And make friends. They're probably one of our favorite topics is friends. And when you collect friends, don't stop. Don't stop collecting friends. I have a great story about that. My best friend growing up, Greg Melanowski, I met him, I thought it was days before kindergarten. Reminiscing, I found out that it was a year before kindergarten, which would be a whole other show if I told you why we figured that out. But it was transformational when he told me that. Helped me put a lot of history together with my dad, etc. And he grew up to become a doctor. So once he got out of high school, we did work a summer job together, and then haven't seen him since I was 20. Kept in very minimal contact and then lost contact. And then his dad died, who was a very big part of our lives growing up. So obviously we reconnected. And he said that he only had family because he studied to be a doctor, all those years after high school. And so one of the things that he lost out on was great friendships. His friends were his books and his study, and infectious disease and HIV and AIDS were blooming when he was a medical student. So he was just buried in becoming a doctor. And he was so thrilled to have found an old friend. And so just remember that and reach across, break barriers. Your new friend could be the guy at the deli at Whole Foods or whatever. Your friend who you thought was a gym friend, but no, he can become a real friend, just like radio friends can become real friends. You and I don't have very many radio friends, but we are real friends. And it was important to us. So if you don't have any resolution for 2025, make a new friend. Make that part of your list.
Nicely said. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the JT and Looney podcast. Share it, download it, like it, please, and turn some other people onto it. and we'll see you back in 2025.